Okay, in this video, I'm going over how to craft an online coaching offer that will generate 100K months. Okay, and creating the right offer is probably the most important part of building any online coaching business, especially one that's going to generate six-figure months. Okay. And the reality is, if you build the wrong offer, nothing else will work because the offer is the foundation that everything else in your business sits on. And so, how do you build the right offer? What is the right offer? Well, you need product market fit. Basically, you need to create something that your audience actually wants, not what you think they want. Okay. In econ terms, your supply needs to match your audience's demand. If you build something that your audience does not want or does not align with their values, they are not going to buy it. So if you don't understand your audience, you can't build the right product for them. So how do you actually find product market fit? Well, it's pretty simple. You just need to do something called market research, which is often overlooked by most people because it seems boring or unnecessary or not something that you would do in the online coaching space, right? But in reality, it's one of the reasons why your offer is not printing as much as it should be or is failing altogether. So, what is market research and how are we going to use market research to find product market fit, ultimately to build that offer that your audience actually wants? Okay. So, market research is the process of analyzing data about a target audience. Okay. So, all of your followers, all of the people that see your content, that's the total addressable market. Okay. The TAM in marketing terms. And what we're doing is analyzing their total addressable market and figuring out who are they, what are they? And basically, we're gathering all the data possible so that we can use that data to build the right product. And if you build the right product, you can spend so much less time selling because your audience will already be pre-sold. Okay, so data, what does that mean? Are we looking at what relationships they're in and what do they eat for, breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Not necessarily. We're looking for three things: your audience's current state, their current problems, and their future goals. So if you just remember three things, those would be the most important. And understanding all three of these is essential in crafting a winning offer. And I'll show you exactly how we're going to figure out just these three things in a few days. Okay. So that kind of brings me to the next section. How do we conduct proper market research so that you can obviously build a product that your audience needs? So I've broken it down into three simple phases. And if you follow them by the end of this video, you will guaranteed have an offer that your audience wants. Okay, so phase one, you're going to come up with a list of relevant questions. Okay, this list needs to, once again, address the three most relevant things: the current state, the current problem, and the future goals. And so you're going to create this list of maybe 5 to 10 questions. And basically, all the questions should be about these three problems right here. Maybe we could do 6 questions, 2 questions for each problem. Okay, 2 questions about, okay, where are they currently at right now? How much money are they making? What's their job? Okay, then current problems. Okay, what are they facing, in terms of financial problems and relationship problems, whatever it is, whatever your niche is, right? And then future goals. Where do they want to see themselves? How much money do they want to be making? If your relationship, what type of relationship do they want to be in? So you're just basically figuring out the current state, the current problems, and the future goals. Okay, that's phase one. And so what you're going to do is come up with a list of questions, write them down on a Google Docs, and have them ready for your audience. Okay, now we're going into phase two. So now you're going to get a sample of your audience to answer these questions, right? If you have 100,000 followers, there's no way you're going to get 100,000 people to answer these questions, and you realistically don't need that much data. Okay. But what we're going to do is create a sample audience. So this will just be a sample that represents your entire audience. Just like done in scientific testing, how they use a sample size to represent the more broader audience. We're doing the same thing. And we're going to use that data to build what's called an ICP, an ideal customer profile, or maybe you've heard of it in different terms. There's a couple different names for it, an avatar. But basically what your sample audience, if it could be kind of dwindled down to one person, what do they look like? What do they do? What are their goals? What are their problems? All of that. And that's what's going to be called your ICP. And so there's basically 2 simple ways that you can go about asking these questions to your audience to get that sample data. And the first way is to get on actual calls. And this way you're going to get a lot more in-depth answers, but it is going to take a little bit longer and a little bit more brain power. So this looks like maybe 5 to 15 minute call over Zoom, Google Meet, or maybe even just over phone. And basically, you'll post something on your story asking for people to help, asking for people to want to get on a call, and maybe offer them something in return, like a free asset, a free resource, something like that. And then put a calendar link, whatever it is, and get maybe 10 to 20 people to book a call. And you're going to be able to get really in-depth questions and really talk to your audience. Of course, this way takes a little bit longer than the latter, but the other way is to just send the questions through DMs. So once again, just post something on your Instagram story or X or whatever it is. Once again, just asking for help, but instead of asking to get on a call, just ask them to answer some questions. And then if they reply to that story, just go ahead and have the questions ready, copied and ready to paste, and then just send them individually, just as if you were asking them verbally over a call. Just do it over the DMs, and you're going to get a little bit less in-depth answers, but it's a lot easier. And it's a little bit easier to get more data doing this as well. And then additionally, you can post, if you're on Instagram, you can just post questions on your Instagram story like this. You just copy one of the questions into here. I personally actually do prefer this method as well. And you're going to get a lot of answers, and they're just going to be a little bit less detailed. But once you have all the data for all your questions, what you're going to do is actually build out your ICP. And basically, this looks like a profile for what your average audience looks like. What is their situation? What is their problems? What is their desired situation? Desired outcome? What's the gap holding them back? What is their limiting beliefs? Why do they think that they can't reach this? Right? You need to know these things because that's how you're going to craft your offer. And so you're going to basically fill out a sheet just like this that describes your average customer, right? And then once you've done that, phase 2 is over. You've collected all your data and you've built out your ICP. Okay. So now phase 3 is when we're going to use this data, the info that you gathered, to craft your offer and to craft the right offer, taking into account the 3 main questions as well as the ICP that you just created. So the first thing I want to do is just start off by creating a rough draft of what's called an offer statement. So an offer statement is basically like a summarized version of your offer. If you could just compress it into one sentence. And some people will use an offer statement maybe on a landing page, on a VSL, whatever it is. If you're planning to, that's great. Now you're going to have one right now. If not, I still recommend you make it anyways. And it needs to do 4 things. Okay, so this is really important. It needs to call out the specific demographic. It needs to solve the problem. It needs to set a clear timeline in which you solve the problem, and then include your unique selling point. So what's unique about your way of solving that problem that no one else does? Okay. And so how do you get the data, like what's the problem that you're going to solve, right? This is all from the questions that you asked, right? And so I created an example offer right here. So attention single moms, the only way to scale your e-commerce brand to 100K month in less than 30 days without having to run more ads, and then the VSLs below it or whatever. And so first thing I'm doing is I'm calling out a specific demographic. So your demographic, in this case, it's single moms. And then we're solving a problem. We're scaling their e-commerce brand to 100K a month. And so for scaling to 100K a month, more than likely the audience that I'm advertising to is probably already at 10, 20, 30, 40K a month. Otherwise, I wouldn't put 100K a month. I'm setting a clear timeline in which we will solve the problem, so in less than 30 days. And then our unique selling point is we'll do this all without you having to run more ads. Okay. And now you have a very clear, summarized version of what your offer is actually going to do. And it's going to be so much easier to sell when you know this. And again, why this is so important, and the problem I see so often, is that people are trying to sell what they think their audience wants, but not what they actually want. Okay, so why would you create an offer where you're going to scale someone's e-commerce brand to $100,000 a month if your audience is all beginners, right? That's way out of reach, right? We need to get them to $10,000 a month first. That's what your offer statement should be, right? And the only way to figure that out is to figure out your audience's problems, their current state, all of that done through market research. And so now if I figured out my audience is mostly single moms with e-commerce brands doing $20,000 to $30,000 a month who want to scale to $100,000 a month, this offer statement is perfect, and they're going to feel extremely targeted when I'm advertising to them, and therefore more likely to be sold, right? Because what if I just created an offer statement that was like, I'll scale your e-commerce brand without having to run more ads? Okay, like that makes kind of sense, and that might get some of my audience. but it doesn't target my exact audience because the type of content that you post will attract a certain type of audience. You need to know and figure out your audience so that you can create the right offer for them. Okay. And then one more thing, you can also include a guarantee in your offer. I don't recommend this. And if you were to create an offer statement, it would be in there. So, and if you can't reach $100,000 a month in 30 days, your money back. I personally do not recommend to run a guarantee. I think that if you need a guarantee to sell your product, then your product isn't good enough. But you'll see a lot of people do run that and it can help to actually get customers. And one more thing, if you're in the process of creating your offer statement right now or crafting it, just trying to put it into words and you're having trouble, just DM me on Instagram. It's in the description, it's in my YouTube bio as well. And I'll work with you and help you to try and actually build that offer statement. And now that you actually have the right offer and you're sure of what you're selling, who you're selling it to, what you're doing for them, and what your unique selling point is, now you can build the rest of your coaching business on this strong foundation. Because no matter what, you'll always know exactly what you're doing. Every piece of content you make now is meaningful. Every single funnel you put out is meaningful. Every CTA you put out is meaningful. But if you just throw together some random offer that you think that your audience might want, down the line, you'll see that it will be detrimental to your coaching business. Okay. And now that you do have your perfect offer, you can start building your sales assets. So that's what's going to be used to actually sell your offer. Okay. And I'll cover that in the next video I make that's part of the series. And of course, like always, if you guys want this entire board, just go ahead on Instagram and DM me asset, and it will just automatically be sent over to you along with every other single board from all of my YouTube videos. And if you are an online coach, creator, or consultant, and you have an info offer doing 5, 50, 100K a month, or you don't have an offer at all, but you're a professional in your niche, I want you to go to this link, watch my video, and see if I can help you scale your offer. The link is in my description. But other than that, I appreciate you guys if you've made it this far, and I recommend you to go to my YouTube channel and watch all my videos like this. I'm going over how to build a successful online coaching business.